Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard of physical video game collections. Get ready for digital, ironically. I've been spending a lot of time on PS3 lately for reasons that may or may not be obvious to you. I swear that video is coming out very soon, if you know what I'm talking about. But I need a little more time, so let's do something a little bit unconventional, I guess, which is I've always wanted to sort of sit here and waste a bunch of time looking at, like, my entire download history on my main PSN ID. On PlayStation 3, mind you, which this will be a very interesting walk down memory lane. This might also be a very long video, so you might want to listen to this like a podcast or something. I don't really know. But we do have the visual. I am at the very bottom here. And before we even start moving up, this is where we can already get into some nostalgic stories. And at this point, you might be young enough to where like none of this means anything to you, so it could also be a great history lesson. First things first, my PSN ID is, I actually made it in 2007. I had one prior that was on my uncle's PlayStation 3 because I didn't get a PS3 right away at the time, so I used his for like a week, and that's a story that's on the channel where I eventually got a PS3 like a week later because it was a launch model that nobody picked up from a local GameStop, but that's neither here nor there. The point is, I had started playing on a PSN ID that was my uncle's, and I just kind of stuck with that for a long time up until 2007 where I finally made my own ID. I don't really know why, but that's why the account history starts at 2007. This was also during a time where Ryan is on the younger side, as in he doesn't really have a credit card and he can't be just spending a bunch of money left and right on PlayStation Network. And I was super jealous at the time of the other options at that moment, which was the Wii Shop channel cards and also the Xbox Live Store credit. Rather, Microsoft and Nintendo had the retail currency options way ahead of PSN. And I was always super jealous of that because this was also like around the time too where like you're younger, right? You would also spend a lot of time on PC, and I wasn't like a huge PC gamer, but like you'd just play BS Flash games. You'd be on Newgrounds all day and stuff like that, right? And so I really loved the sort of, at the time, what felt like a very cool, different, and novel concept of, oh, these feel like premium sort of Flash games, these sort of early titles that were starting to pop up on Xbox Live and PlayStation Network. You're talking like Flow and Cash Guns Chaos and things like that, right? So I always wanted to play those games and buy them. Couldn't do that initially. I know we're not even moving up the list right now, but it's part of the story. So it's all demos. You can see initially. Initially, it's like all demos. And this was actually, I believe this is well past the point where you would have had to like sit there and wait for the demo to actually like fully download. So that was also a huge pain with PlayStation 3 back in the day, like right around, well, immediately when the console came out and a little bit after that. When you wanted to download anything on PSN, you had to sit there and wait for the download to completely finish and resolve. There was no downloading in the background, which was always kind of a silly thing to me, and that's what I did on the earlier IDs. But these ones, you could download in the background, and I was downloading lots of demos. So let's finally move up a little bit here. I've got the Heavenly Sword demo, Virtua Tennis 3, Def Jam Icon, played a lot of that demo, and I think that's the one demo where I forget what rappers they had for the, because I think you could only pick the two, you couldn't pick anybody else, but I believe it was the same two rappers, and it was always top down. I like my beat down low, down low, down low. I like my top lid back. And I just kept playing that thing over and over and over again. NBA 07, you've got the Super Rub-a-Dub Starter Pack demo. Motorstorm Time Attack, you got a bunch of this, extra data and things, the PS2 system data, Darkness demo, Tom Clancy's Graw 2, I love how they shorten that, the Nucleus starter pack, Gran Turismo HD concept, I had already had that, and things like Blast Factor, and Ninja Gaiden, and Genji, Dirt, Folklore, all this stuff was already, I'd played it on the other ID, but I downloaded it on this ID. The other thing I can mention, and here you've got Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo HD Remix. God, Terrell played so much of that at the time. NASCAR too. Unironically, NASCAR was something where there's the one PS2 game, I think it's like 04 or 05 or something like that. I actually played that game quite a bit because it had this weird morality system where you could be a good or bad driver, and I thought that was so dumb and silly, but it was also super fun. Anyway, I'm losing track of what I'm even trying to say here. Oh, okay, so the other thing with early PS3 days, if you were there, you know, it was the game sharing. That was a big thing. So I will admit, like everybody else, like you got friends on PSN and you were just doing this. Well, I wasn't doing it. I was partaking in what people were offering, but it was the matter of yeah, just log into my account and download the games that I paid for, because PSN game sharing at the time was up to 5 games, or rather 5 different consoles. So people very much were doing this in PSN chat parties, the white room where the icons are popping in and you'd sit there and talk all night and things like that. And so game sharing was the thing, and I've had plenty of people back then that were like super kind and let me go download Flow off of their account, or some of the other early PSN titles that I listed off. So I don't have these popping up here until much later, but I did have access to some. That was also the case for betas as well, because Sony very much would deploy betas on PlayStation Network back then, and so there were certain cases like the God of War 3 E3 2010 demo. The home beta was a huge deal, and I believe you could very much, because if I remember correctly, that is how I got into one of the earliest betas, closed or private betas for PlayStation Home. Very rarely did I ever get access to that stuff. But anyway, let's move on here. Let's move up. We've got more demos, Pixel Junk. Those were always great games. It's cool that Q Games is still around. Tony Hawk's Proving Ground. Some of the metadata, like images, are not even like popping up for all this stuff. Stuntman Ignition. Skate was a big deal at the time. You know, I really enjoyed Skate, but I never bought the game until much, much later. I still gravitated towards Tony Hawk and that gameplay style. Clive Barker's Jericho, The Simpsons demo, Bladestorm, Ridge Racer 7, Ratchet and Clank Future. Oh man, that was super cool. Some of these demos too, like, came out a little bit prior to the retail version, so like this would be something where like I eventually did buy the game, obviously, and that was great. The Folklore PSU demo, Conan and iCreate, which is also super goofy. You know, iCreate's basically like a photo booth sort of Mac equivalent where you can use the PlayStation Eye, and that's around the time that Eye of Judgment also came out. God, I love Eye of Judgment so much. And here is my first genuine purchase, which is Spyro the Dragon. So now I'm fairly certain I did not have a credit card at the time. This is going to be where details are super iffy for me, so I would think by the time this showed up, they either had the PSN retail cards, but I feel like they didn't come out till 08 or 09. It kind of showed up rather late. And if anything, I feel like it happened closer to the store redesign in 2009. So this might have been something where I had somebody's credit card where they allowed me to use it, either my grandfather's or my uncle's. But it was just so frustrating back then. Where like if you did not have a credit card or even a debit card, like, you just couldn't buy all this stuff. And like PS1 games for $6 a pop, they lived locally on your hard drive. I mean, this was the earliest sort of advent on PlayStation at least, but in the console territory, it was very early of having this online storefront where you can download all these classic games. They lived locally on the hard drive, so you could always launch them whenever you want without having to boot up discs. I mean, this completely predates the sort of attitude and advocacy I have nowadays of like, I like having all these games physically. I also always liked having the games physically, but there was very much a time back then where it was like embracing digital. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. I can download Spyro the Dragon. It only cost me $6 and I could play it on my PSP. You know, shit was wild back then. Crash Bandicoot license. I love how some of the IDs for these games and the actual data name for it is there's no consistency. The Uncharted demo. Oh my God, we have to at least talk about this for just a little bit. In that this was one of the earliest PlayStation 3 games that really sort of, I mean, there's plenty that sort of define that generation where the sort of graphical leap felt very impressive and beautiful and gorgeous. I think of MotorStorm immediately, but Uncharted always stuck out to me in that, like, immediately, because the demo is chapter 4, so it's the plane crashes, you're trying to find Elena, and it already looks lush and dense and gorgeous, but you get to that first section of water, and when you get into the water, Drake's pants get wet up to the water line of however far you walk in, and I always thought that was just like one of the most impressive things ever. It was so cool. I loved that so much, and I always think about it every time I see Uncharted. Aquatopia. This is like one of those very silly PlayStation Eye games in that it's very experimental. It's borderline tech demo, which, little tangent, little rant here, people just overuse the word tech demo for so many ridiculous things. If I see one more person refer to Astro's Playroom as a tech demo, I'm going to go postal. That's a game. It's a full game. Let's stop with the whole, oh, it's a technical demonstration. Nah, they made a game. From start to finish, that's a game. Many experiences that are sold to you are actually games. It seems so, I don't know, derogatory or not derogatory, but very reductive to always use the word tech demo for a lot of experiences that are like full-blown games nowadays. I mean, I think we're not realizing what a tech demo really is, and Aquatopia is certainly bordering on that, and they still sold this damn thing to you, which is, I mean, I'm not even explaining it, but Aquatopia, you can barely see yourself in the background with the PlayStation Eye, and you can just like gesture towards the fish in this aquarium, and they can kind of follow you around or something. That's basically all that is. Everyday Shooter is really cool though, because this was like a high profile early PSN game, and that it was developed by one person. And so like we're talking, look, I don't think the game came out in November 2007. It might have been a little bit earlier than that, but again, like we're talking 07, where you've got an independent person publishing on console online. This was the very early onset of, you know, independent developers and being able to publish and make money on console, and having this much smaller budget and a very different landscape back then. Blast Factor, shout out to Blue Point Games' first original title, and still as of the recording of this video, their only original title. And here it is, baby. Super Stardust HD. Bless, one of my favorite Housemarque games. God, it's so addictive. It's the one game where I'll always say, for a twin-stick shooter that gets so chaotic with all this bullet hell action and the asteroids, I'm very good at it. And I love getting into a super deep session where it's like going on 1.5 to 2 hours, and I haven't died, and I was able to maintain a 10 times multiplier. This is also the first game that ever got a trophy patch as well, which is really awesome, because it was the first game that got trophies in 2008. This would have been, it says 07. The trophy patch came out 08 when they finally launched trophies on PSN. Trophies at that time, you know, Sony had outlined that games were going to get patched, and then there was a mandate for retail games eventually, so every game would have it. But the first game that got patched was Super Stardust HD. The second was Uncharted. But when Super Stardust HD came out, my eyes lit up. It was like pure ecstasy, just this adrenaline rush of like, oh my god, this game I love so much, I can get trophies for it. The first game. And it was like something too where there's a trophy for reaching the 10 times multiplier. And it's tough. Like, it's genuinely tough if you're not into this kind of experience or game. So I remember so many people playing this just for the sake of, it's the first game with trophies. They wanted to get the 100%, and they simply couldn't, because it was a genuine challenge. And your boy came in, knocked it out in like, I think 1 or 2 days. I'd have to check my trophy timestamps, but ooh, I love that big time, daddy-o. Blast Factor Advanced Research was also an expansion for Blast Factor. Also a very early, novel concept. But I mean, that's the thing. Like, you're also seeing these expansions of the early PSN digital library. And so Advanced Research 2 is kind of difficult. I don't have all the trophies for this game either. So, because it eventually did get a trophy patch as well. Much later, though. And I would love to go back and do Advanced Research, but it is kind of challenging from what I recall. MX versus 8TV, we've got 600 items. I gotta move on faster than this if I'm gonna be pissing away all this time. The Flow expansion pack, like I said, Flow. Actually, I don't even think we've seen Flow yet, which means, yeah, I think what I did do was I had it from somebody else, as I explained earlier, and I bought the expansion pass on my account to expand their license, or rather, expand my copy of the game. And I think I might have like overwritten the license too, in such a manner where like I didn't have to ever have access to their account again. I could be totally wrong about that, but I did buy the expansion pass, and it was cool that you got other organisms, and that was also kind of challenging too. I don't think I have the 100% for that game either. The other organisms are kind of a pain to use. Burnout Paradise was so good too. Snakeball demo, Black Site. You know what's so funny? So this is going to be a PSR video. I don't remember. This is a genuine sort of. I'm just now noticing and realizing this. I don't ever recall playing or downloading this game in 2007, and I saw the game again recently. Or again, to me, it seemed like it was the first time I ever saw it, and it looked awful. And I played it recently and filmed it for a PlayStation retrospective video that has not come out just yet. It's almost done with editing, but game's bad. I can't believe I played this back in 07 though. I don't remember this game, like, at all. And yet I'm sitting here looking at the demo that I did, in fact, download in December of 2007. Holiday skins from MotorStorm, the Turok demo, I do remember that. Pixel Junk Monsters is so good. Love that little tower defense game, and it's like another expansion of the Pixel Junk series. Conflict Denied Ops, no clue. MotorStorm, the Pain stuff. See, here's what I'm talking about. You haven't seen Pain yet. I did get that from somebody else, but you could download characters and other items. And Pain's one of those PSN games too, where like it's the earliest one as far as like it had so many goddamn expansions. Now, Sound Shapes came out much later and kind of blew that out of the water as far as these additional like trophy packs and these like sound thing you can do. I can't even remember what it is, but Pain had a ton of like separate characters and modes and areas that you could download, and so Cookie was one of the first ones. Pain's also like just really leans into like the toilet humor and fart humor and women humor. So like Cookie's one of those characters where she's looking very a little bit juicy, you know what I'm saying? So they had a lot of those that showed up for Pain. Lost Planet, it was cool that finally came to PS3 a year later. That was interesting. Patapon, Harvey Birdman demo, Siphon Filter, God of War. Here's Pain with explosives. We'll probably see more of those. Here's where I actually bought Flow, which actually that's the PS Vita and PSP version, which I think at the time when you first purchase it under that designation, it would have been that, like it'll show that, but I believe the game's still cross-buy for all platforms. I don't think you have to buy it separately, although I could also be misremembering that as well. But I at least paid for it on PSP at that point. Clearly, it came out in 2008 on PSP or around that time, and then it was grandfathered into a cross-buy scenario for PlayStation Vita, so that's why it showed up there. MLB The Show, I don't even know why I downloaded that. I don't like baseball at all. Condemned, that was I'm still kind of a bitch when it comes to horror games, and I remember that demo very well, and it was like another convincing thing of like, yep, I ain't buying any of these horror games. The Dragons and Control pack, we know the story. Lair is a bad game. It's a bad game by Factor 5. That was a PSR video as well, before I started calling that series PSR. But I finally went back to that game all these years later to see it all the way through, and I tried playing without the control pack because that was a huge thing at the time for that game, is that eventually they sort of, and this was Sony putting a lot of pressure on Factor 5 at the time of, this is our 6-axis game. And so they had a control analog stick patch ready to go, and it didn't come out till later. And I downloaded it at the time thinking like, oh, maybe this will save the game for me. And it certainly didn't at that time, and it didn't much later when I finally went back to the game. Super Stardust HD Solo Pack. You've got the Metal Gear Online beta, I believe, so I did have that. Because I think anybody could access that if I recall correctly. Flat Out Head On. Iron Man. The Call of Duty 4 Variety Map Pack. What a time, folks. What a time. I mean, Call of Duty 4 was the one that, and I always say this, it blew the franchise up. And then people get mad and go, oh no, Ryan, people played Call of Duty 3 and beyond. Yes, I understand that. Millions of players back then. You're not understanding the difference between 3 and 4. 4 is where it blew into the stratosphere and became the big cultural black hole game icon that it is today. I digress. The point is, at that time, that was like the only thing you really had to worry about. You could play COD4 till the cows came home. PS3 free online, which was a huge benefit. I got up to the 7th prestige, I think, and the variety map pack came out, and that was like, oh cool, 4 new maps, and that was the only expansion you had to buy. $10. Boom, you're done. 4 new maps, and you called it a day. Dark Sector. Beats is super cool. This is a PSP game where it's a rhythm game. It's like buttons come into these circles and you just have to time it. But what it would do is you could play any song that you wanted off of the Memory Stick Pro Duo in your PSP. So, you know, I'm sitting there, 08, jamming out to like, I don't know, what was I listening to? Like Ice Cube and Black Eyed Peas and shit like that. So I remember playing a lot of beats, and I thought it was super cool that the game would try and replicate the beats of any sort of song that you threw at it. Wasn't perfect, obviously, but you'd be surprised how sort of on beat it could be for any song that you threw at it. Grid, Born, Secret Agent Clank demo, Hot Shots, Battlefield Bad Company. I'm still trying to give NASCAR a try. I know for a fact I only bought the PS2 one, never played it again. GOW add-on. Can't remember. I'm sure if I downloaded it, I'd figure it out real quick. Hail to the Chimp playable demo, Fatal Inertia, Championship Sprint. that was like I think that was a launch game or close to a launch game as well. There's the first Core episode. I remember buying a few episodes of Core, not a ton of them though. But I'll tell you, when I looked at this somewhat recently, like maybe a year or two ago, going through this stuff, and I could have sworn I had more Core episodes. Now I downloaded episode 1 to like check it out, and this is when Sony was doing a digital magazine basically, which was a very I don't know if it's a new concept, but it was certainly a very different one at the time because you also had to pay for it, and you were basically paying to download this application that fed you a bunch of trailers, like high quality trailers, sure, but like that, you know, it's a very different time obviously to pay for that, and you're paying for trailers to download locally to your hard drive. You're not streaming it obviously. So there's that. But I feel like I had more episodes. When I was going through this, I feel like there's more that they delisted or something. Metal Gear Solid 4, Database, Top Spin 3, Super Stardust, HD, Team Pack. You know I'm buying all that HD content. No clue why that's on there because I don't like football. Monster Madness. That was also that was like one of the earliest PS3 games that showed up like at, I think, TGS or something, E3, and it took forever for it to come out. Siren Blood Curse, Pixel Junk Eden. This is my favorite of the Pixel Junk games. I don't know why. It's like, well, I guess I do know why. It's very interesting with, play it with headphones for sure. Because you're this like little grimp guy, and it's almost like you're a spider, and you're webbing around this environment and growing these vines, but it's also heavy on the music. Like it's a really great original soundtrack with these beats that just sort of, you get lost in the moment. So I always recommend Pixel Junk Eden, and there is a sequel too as well that's on Nintendo Switch, and I think there's a PlayStation 5 version, and a shame that I never actually went back to it, but it's also kind of a pain to do 100% trophies on that game. Lego Indiana Jones. Here's a PlayStation Home theme. Yeah, at this point I think the closed beta has already been going on for quite a bit. I think it was like in June or something when the PS Home closed beta came out. Maybe it was 2007. Again, super iffy, so don't chastise me over here. Doing this all raw, basically, with PlayStation knowledge, and it was around that time, but I did get it from somebody else, but that's still a home theme, so that's not related to actually PlayStation Home itself. 1942 Joint Strike demo, Star Wars. No clue why I'm downloading that. The Last Guy, let me tell you, The Last Guy, really fun game. It's one of those classic Japan Studio games that is so different from pretty much everything else that came out at the time, where it's using like a top-down view of Google Maps, and you are just this little guy that's trying to save people from monsters that are, again, plopped onto a Google Maps sort of satellite view, and you carry them into quarantine zones, and it's a very quirky, unique game for sure. That's still only on PlayStation 3. Chinese English version of that game on disc 2 is like $300, very rare. The Omega Dawn booster pack. Oh, we got some expansions for Warhawk. Warhawk is also a multiplayer game that I loved a lot. Broken Mirror and the Fallen Star pack. I didn't love these modes. I think I got most of my time in on the game just on the base content that the game initially came with. But hey, I'll tell you a little factoid about Warhawk. That was also a really crazy thing at the time too, where Warhawk comes out and day and date, it's disc and digital. And that was the first time in the console space where you had a retail game being available the same day on digital. And I also remember folks kind of freaking out because it's like, there's only 60 gig PS3s. At the time, they would have been offering 80 gigs. But it's like, oh my God, and Blu-ray discs are 50 gigs. How large is this game going to be? And Warhawk, if you did buy digital at the time, it was like 800 megabytes. So it was not big at all, but that was a kind of a crazy thing that people were discussing at the time. And the retail version was better anyway because you got your Jabra headset. So it came with a slightly bigger sort of deluxe edition box, and you'd get a Jabra Bluetooth headset, which for PS3, that was great to have. That was the first time I got my headset on PlayStation 3 because Sony did not pack in headsets. And that was the big deal with the whole 360 versus PS3 dynamic. It definitely gets into the console war stuff, is that every 360 came with a headset, so online lobbies on 360 were much more lively. When you pack in a headset, I'm sorry, my Facebook's going off. I gotta silence this shit. When you had the pack in, so many people are using that. PS3, it was like a ghost town. It was great that like you could throw pretty much any headset at PS3, whether it was Bluetooth or USB, and the console was probably going to accept it and use it, but people just weren't doing that. I mean, we're also talking about people that were dropping $500 on a PlayStation 3, $600. Like, chances are, I mean, at this point it would have been $400, but it was still very expensive. Arguably, it's like, why not pony up and get a headset? But, you know, just one of those things. When you hand something to people, chances are a lot of people will take advantage of it. But there's that. Core Episode 4, don't remember which one that one was. I don't know why I felt the need to buy it. I think I do have the Core Episode where they accidentally leaked the PSP Go, but I don't believe it's that one because that would have been 09. Little Big Planet theme, SOCOM Confrontation Public Beta. There you go. So I got access to some betas. Nova Strike, that was also like the third or fourth PSN game to ever get trophies. At this point, if I recall the order, it was Super Stardust HD, Uncharted. Nova Strike might have been number 3. If not, then Pixel Junk Eden. But it was like one of the earliest games. At the time, I was trying to keep up with every single game that got trophies. And for Nova Strike, I remember distinctly, this was the one I could not keep up with. This game was hard as hell, and I do not have 100% on it. And it was all downhill from there, folks, all these years later, 11-something years later. MotorStorm Pacific Rift. God, that game's so good. Downloading those demos when those games were about to come out. You got Fractured, Mercenaries 2. That's a fun game. Mega Man 9. Not a huge Mega Man person, but it's like... Look at how commonplace demos were, though. When you look at it, it is very interesting where the industry shifted, because demos were super big back then. Then we kind of lost them during the PS4 era. Because at that point, a lot of publishers, some were willing to say this, like Dave Perry with the whole Gaikai trying to, you know, sell this pitch of on PlayStation 4 you'd be able to download and try a game or stream a game before you end up buying it. But he eventually came out and admitted that, like, most publishing partners they talked to try to actually arrange that sort of feature, they would say, no, David, we don't want to do that. We don't want players to play our game. We want to use trailers to sell the game. If the game's not good, they'll buy it anyway. So it's weird how that happened for a good portion of the PS4 cycle. Now demos are becoming a more commonplace thing because of the saturation of the business. There are so many good things coming out that you want to get, you're just fighting for time at this point. So now you want people to play your games, and so now demos are a lot more commonplace. Soundtrack for Pixel Junk Eden. You know I was on that, like shiitake mushrooms, because that demo is a big part, or the soundtrack is a big part of the game. Linger in Shadows. This was a demo scene experience. What I love about Linger in Shadows, if you know, you know. Weird as hell. Very strange. It's like watching a movie, but it's slightly interactive in that you can forward or rewind this very just like abstract, avant-garde sort of animation. You can rewind it and keep playing it, but if you stop it at certain points and use the 6-axis controller, you can sort of advance the plot line of the animation. It's just so weird. But what I love about it is that it is fucking weird. So I showed this to so many of my friends. I would have them come over. They wouldn't know because they don't follow games like I do. They would have never known this came out on PSN. I always had them come over, sat them down, and I'd give them a controller, and I would just bask in like the absurdity of their faces as they're trying to figure out what the hell is going on in Linger in Shadows. It makes no goddamn sense. But I had so many people sit down and sit through that game. LBP Online Trial, I was in that. Wipeout Pulse demo, Lego Batman the video game, LBP stickers. Oh man, we're gonna see. All right, yeah. So we're gonna see a lot of Little Big Planet stuff for sure. That was the cool thing about LBP, is the play, create, share, but also this dynamic of, Sackboy is very customizable. And so they just leaned into it big time. A lot of the costumes were free. Then a lot of them you also had to pay for. I don't remember which ones were free. I don't remember which ones I paid for. I don't remember paying for a lot of them, so there's that. Which we're at some Resistance 2 content. I played a ton of Resistance 2. That one is infamously the one game that took me next to GTA 4 like 10 plus years to platinum, because it had a ridiculous trophy in there where you had to get 10,000 kills online. Aaron Espinoza, you know who I'm talking about at Insomniac, who apparently felt very bad about that ridiculous trophy, and it took me so long to finally platinum that game. The co-op is good. The co-op doesn't take too long. It was the competitive 60-player battles, which at the time, super cool and crazy. That was also before MAG, but you know, prior to Meg, like that was a huge headline of 60-player competitive arenas. And loved R2 a lot, but I did not love it to the point where I was going to do 10,000 kills online genuinely. I think I got to like 4,000 genuinely. And then I only ended up getting the platinum once an exploit came out where, you know, you could get into ranked dead rooms on the extra paid rooms or paid maps that you could buy, set up 2 PS3s, 2 TVs, tape controllers. There's a spawn point where you can just keep shooting the other player, and that's how you farmed genuine kills in ranked play. And I say genuine, but like I'm just gonna be frank, like there's no shot I'm spending all that time doing it genuinely, and I tried to, but I do live a little bit of a lie, and you know, part of being okay with it is admitting it to all of you right here on camera. And hey, you know what? I have the trophy, so who's the loser now? Probably still me. BioShock PS3 challenge rooms. This was cool too. BioShock, easily one of the best games I will still say ever made. It's up there for me. It's an easy top 10. It was a huge thing where it's like, oh man, 360's got this game. Comes out 08 on PS3 with that beautiful slipcover, which I still have for the retail variant. And it also had the challenge rooms as well. So it had this extra bonus content, which was very cool because it was these, just that, challenge rooms. There's no plot line per se, but it's just like leaning into the plasmids and dynamics of the game to where they basically made puzzle rooms that you had to figure out how to solve. Super fun. Official themes. Some of these themes on PSN at this point, they were selling them. Some were free, and of course there was a program that you could download and do your own custom PS3 themes. And I know there are other themes on here that are, yup, I knew it. That is why I was leading into this. I'm like, hey, I'm a young guy. I was like, of course I'm going to download something where I like women. I'm sorry. I had to get the beach sampler because I think that was like $2 or something. So, hey, some beautiful women on the beach. I was all for it. I can sit here and own up to it. That's the only one I have. I never went full degen where I downloaded explicit custom themes online because you could have full-blown pornography if you really wanted to. But I did rock the beach sampler theme for quite a bit, and it was always nice to look at when you exited out of a game, realizing that you weren't getting all the kills in Resistance 2. Dead Space Core 2008, don't remember which one that was, but here's a lot of more LBP stuff. I was so pumped when Luminous finally came to PlayStation 3, one of my favorite all-time puzzle games. Alone in the Dark. Oh yeah, I did have a second one. Okay. I feel like, you know what's funny? So when I saw the beach sampler theme, because what the themes do, right? They rotate images. They weren't dynamic at this point in time. Maybe there were dynamic themes in 2008, but the static ones, they would like have a rotation of 4 or 5 images or something. And you could do that with the custom ones too. But I looked at that one and I'm like, okay, yeah, that's the one, because I remember it would rotate between that image and that one. But I guess I bought 2. Hey, we learn a little bit about ourselves every day, don't we? I really thought that image or that particular photo shoot was mixed in with that one. But hey, I'll admit it. They're gorgeous women. Ain't no shame. Look at them. All right, GTI Club Plus demo. Oh, and Tiger Woods too. Tiger Woods. We had a Luminous holiday pack. You know what's funny? Alone in the Dark demo too. I platinumed that for 30 Platinums Part 3. I don't remember playing it back then, or maybe just barely. Downloaded that on Christmas too. My God. But man, once I finally went back to it through PS3 Server Blades on PlayStation 5, that game was just such a pain in the ass to play. Magic Orbs. I always like reminding people about this. So I love brick breakers. That's what Magic Orbs is. It's a brick breaker, but it's very 3D, as in the environment has full-blown like towers and people and just sort of 3D objects in the environment. So it's a, you know, sort of against the grain type of brick breaker. It was called Magic Balls. The day one name for this game is Magic Balls, and then they just stealthily put out a patch, changed all the metadata, Magic Orbs. And I am convinced that the reason for that is Sony probably was like, hey, could you guys like not call it that? Like they initially got to publish it as Magic Balls and eventually had to change it. Fear 2, Bejeweled 2, LBP stuff, RE demo, Phantasy Star, Loved Flower. That was that game company's second game. And since I loved Flow so much, which Flow, by the way, like Flow was a it was a PC game or whatever. It was a Flash game you could play just straight up, but you could buy this, you know, because it was free, obviously. Why would you pay for it on PS3? But that was the whole shtick, was like, well, it's 1080p 60. It looks gorgeous back in like 07 when the game came out on PlayStation 3. Actually, it might have came out late 06 if I think. I don't know. I'm not going to get too hung up on dates. But Flow looked amazing on PlayStation 3. But it was like one of those early PC Flash games that you could play before it jumped up to PlayStation 3 and looked like 10 times better, in my view. Afro Samurai. Nobi boy. Now, you all know I'm a big Katamari stan around here. I love Katamari Damacy so much. And so when it's like, oh, the creator doing this smaller scale game on PSN, and I remember a lot of the interviews at the time was like, oh, it's this joint effort. This very well could be, folks, the first Strand game. I know Kojima wanted to get a lot of credit for that, but I don't know. I think you could arguably say that this was a Strand game as well, because everybody would stretch Nobi boy, and then that would stretch a larger community-driven boy. You know, I have to go play this game again. It's just so quirky and weird, right? And that's kind of why you always play their games, because they're just straight up weird. Red Baron, The Chronicles of Riddick, the Wheelman demo, LBP, CNC, Red Alert 3, Core episode. That might have been the PSP leak video. Can't recall. No, that would have been closer to E3. Flock, Encore, that's where Pixel Junk Eden had some DLC. Here's more LBP stuff. Fat Princess Public Beta Phase 3. God, I love Fat Princess so much. That is such a great smaller scale arena style game that really leans into just a completely different sort of personality driven experience, where it's this, you know, it's class based, sure, but it's like cartoony looking, and you're feeding a princess cake, and that makes it difficult for the other team to go get her. And oh, Fat Princess was so cool. LBP Creator Pack, here's some Magic Orb stuff, Redifaction, UFC, Patapon, Marvel, Savage Moon. Hey, of course I gotta get that Daxter character. Here's where I finally bought more PS1 games. Here's the thing, right? Like, I bought Spyro a long time ago. I must have got a lot of them from other accounts, because I never felt the pressure or need to buy other ones. But I also, like, I didn't have a ton of money in 2009, so that's why we're still seeing all this, like, $10 to $15 stuff. And granted, the PS1 games were pretty cheap, but I did also have some PS1 games too at the time. Sprint Ragdoll Kung Fu, that was also kind of cool, because Ragdoll Kung Fu was free for everyone. That was a promotion from Sprint, and everyone was entitled to download Ragdoll Kung Fu. So I think for a lot of people with PlayStation 3, your version of this game is the Sprint version. The Livery Pack, Tiger Woods, Mohawk Livery Pack, the Grim Skin. Oh yeah, this PSP game. Holy Invasion of Privacy, Badman, What Did I Do to Deserve This? Rock Band Unplugged for PSP. A lot of PSP stuff is also going to show up in here too. Self Actor, Voodoo, Fight Night, a lot of livery stuff. The Unreal Tournament map pack. I really liked UT3 a lot. Kind of a long platinum too. The Prince of Persia epilogue. Ooh, the feels. Battlefield. This is the only Prince of Persia I really love. And that's the one where I think a lot of Prince of Persia fans are like, oh, I don't like that one. Adrenaline expansion, Pixel Junk, Encore, so an expansion for that. Trash Panic. I'll tell you right now, Trash Panic is a very difficult PSN game 200%. It's really difficult. You're basically just like compressing trash into the trash can as it kind of comes in and falls. It's basically like a Tetris clone, but it's like actually super hard to compress the trash as much as you possibly can. So the trophies are just completely unforgiving. World at War demo, Buzz, Monster Hunter, Loco Roco 2 demo. Love me some Worms. Crystal Defenders is also a great Final Fantasy tower defense game. Got some more Pain characters, getting very cozy with Cookie there. Still Alive, GLaDOS Rock Band, that was cool too. Infamous, the Gigawatts Power Blades, yeah, that was like a move or something, or yeah, like a thing Cole could do with his abilities. Marvel vs. Capcom. It's weird that I've got like a lot of the MVC stuff. I mean, they're demos, so it's like it's always free. Why wouldn't I download it? But I was never a fighting game person. Okay, so I got some music for Rock Band. I didn't go crazy. You know, I like me some Clint Eastwood. I like me some Feel Good Inc. It's Gorillaz, you know? I feel like those music videos, if you were around during that time, like they live rent-free in your head. And Smooth Criminal is great too. I think that's the Alien Ant Farm version though. Because it's Rock Band, it would make sense. Mirror's Edge, Dirt 2, Fear, Shatter, great brick breaking game. Fantastic title. Love it. So good. I'm telling you, I'm big on brick breakers. If you remember, one of my favorite ones on PC, and this was the Tangent publisher, I forget their name, but it was called Master Ball. Master Ball 2, I love that one because it was like this sort of very modern looking at the time. It still looks very modern with the music and the way the game looks, but it's a, look up Blaster Ball 2. It's almost like a Who Wants to Be a Millionaire style brick breaking game. Okay, we got more of TV shows I can't remember because the data's not even loading. Wipeout HD finally showing up. Guess that's when I decided to pay for it. The Punisher, Ninja Gaiden, Sigma 2, Lost Planet, Wolfenstein. A lot of demos, Detuned. So that's another one that's like Linger in Shadows. Not quite to the same degree, but it's a demo scene game where it's a guy sitting in a chair and you just get to mess around with him and you could just hit a bunch of buttons and really sort of manipulate the guy in the chair to get him to dance around or turn his head into an elephant. Wild stuff. Another game where you bring people over, you sit them down, and you tell them, do something with this guy. Uncharted 2, Ratchet & Clank, Critter Crunch, DBZ, Jak and Daxter, The Lost Frontier. Yeah, I downloaded it. I played it. Wasn't happy with it at the time, but your boy gave it a shot. Crystal Defenders, the PSP version. Got more, whatever this is. MW2. Veteran theme, okay. Fat Princess, yeah, this is when they did a lot of stuff with Fat Princess too. The Ad Hoc Party PSP stuff, LBP PSP demo. This is where like a lot of these PSP ports came out. The Uncharted table for Pinball Heroes. Tekken 6. I'm trying not to like skip over something cool, but at the same time, we are taking forever to get through this. Way longer than I thought. My God, I could talk your goddamn ears off. Frogger Returns. It's a bad Frogger game. It's got like 4 or 5 gold trophies. Or maybe 11, I don't know. It's one of those weird PSN games where it's got like hardly any trophies because they just went heavy on golds. But you could get all of them in like 45 minutes or something. And at the time, we're talking 2009, before we have what we have now, where it's just like PSN's littered with garbage that hands out platinums in 10 minutes. Early on, like, you would be lucky to get out of a game, whether it's PSN or retail, and be done within a day. Very rarely. The early ones were Frogger Returns on PSN or Terminator Salvation for retail, for a full game for a platinum. Very few games they were handing out trophies quite to the degree that these games did. Army of Two, MGS Peace Walker, love me some Peace Walker, Diner Dash, Peggle. Yo, Peggle was tight, man. This was also like, we're talking 09. So you got your iPhone, iPad's about to come out in a year. So mobile games are pretty big and they're premium mobile games. So this was before the sort of race to the bottom where all the mobile games were completely free and ad driven and there was a lot of MTX. Like that was still very much a time where on your iPhone, that'd be like 3GS around that time. I had a 3GS. Download Peggle, just get your time in on that game. And I was always so pumped when those games made the jump to console platforms. Same thing for like Plants vs. Zombies too, which came to PS Vita eventually. Uno, SingStar Viewer. That was also like they just let you download that separately if you didn't have the discs, and you could just simply launch that and get into the SingStar social experience, because that's another big part of what they were doing with like the SingStar IP at the time. By the time it jumped to PlayStation 3, modern platform, they're selling songs. There's this community where you could record yourself, and that's where I had my infamous debut of doing Never Gonna Give You Up, and that's how I earned the one trophy where you get like a certain number of ratings or something. I'll probably throw up a video, but that was it's cool that like if you didn't have the SingStar games, you could download the Viewer and just like check out the community videos and give feedback and things like that. And I think the Viewer was at that point expanded upon to where if you just brought your own mics, you could buy music from the Viewer and start doing it that way. These are probably trailers, Battlefield, Alien vs. Predator demo, Timing, Don't know what that is. Eye of Judgment Legends. God, I love Eye of Judgment as well, and it was cool that it got a PSP and, a PSP version that was also playable on Vita. What's funny is that I never actually like spent a whole lot of time with that game. I really loved the full-blown physical TCG and putting them on the mat and things like that. Just Cause 2, The Taxidermist, which was a little extra expansion for Heavy Rain. Wasn't necessary, you didn't have to play it, but of course I did, excuse me. Batman, Skate 3, MLB.TV. This is where like Sony's shipping all these applications on PS3. So the TV video section, I don't know if they actually added that to the XMB at the time, but I know why I downloaded that despite me not being a sports person. I just wanted to have icons on the XMB. I don't know. It just looked very full. I was very much into the idea, and I fully used my PlayStation 3 as that entertainment hub. My 60 gig was full blown. I was using all those ports on the console, compact flash, SD, memory stick Pro Duo. I'm ripping CDs to the bitch. I got all my videos on there, all my pictures. It was my full blown like entertainment hub. I get home from school, I turn on my PS3. I'm not turning on cable TV. Like that's what I did. Loved it. Beach Breeze dynamic theme. I bought a few themes. I'm not sure how much else there are. And then Mafia, Tom Clancy. Yo, it took forever for Castle Crashers to come to PlayStation 3. That was like, I look at Castle Crashers, that's like early Xbox 360, Xbox Live arcade game. Worms 2, Space Invaders. Hey, look at that, a 15th anniversary theme. Crazy how we just had the 30th anniversary. And funny enough too, like they're sort of marketing and design methodology wasn't like that far off 15 years later, having all the PlayStation 3 outlines and profiles of the consoles to make up the number there, 15. Lara Croft, God of War, Ghost of Sparta demo, Rock Band 3, Saw 2 Flesh and Blood, Voodoo, downloading that. I think you could actually like bring in your own files for that in Voodoo. Was Voodoo the service where like at the time you could buy a Blu-ray and it would come with a digital copy that you would have to redeem from Voodoo? I think that's what that is as well, so that might be why I have Voodoo on here, but again, I was downloading all of them anyway because I just liked having them. You've got Sackboy's Prehistoric Moves, Nathan Drake for an Avatar. Yeah, now they're doing more Avatar stuff on PSN. LBP 2 demo, very pumped about LBP. Kung Fu Live, that was also crazy PlayStation Eye game. LBP content, yup, got all this stuff. Yep, LBP. Hey! Well, it came by way of PlayStation Move Heroes. Not a very good game, but I was, I'm not going to not take this, you know what I'm saying? LBP, Mass Effect 2 Cerberus pack. Hey, that was another, very much PS3 thing. By the time we got Mass Effect 2, we only got 2. And so that was like a thing where when players got to the game, EA had to like come out and say, don't worry, we'll do this like very quick comic book style thing where we bring you up to the events of Mass Effect 2. And I think they did let you determine the choices in 1 to then pick that then led you into 2. Or maybe not. They might have made one choice canon and, well, kind of pointless for what I'm saying. I always remember with Mass Effect 2 on PS3, it's like, if you were a PS3 player, that's where you started the Mass Effect franchise. We eventually got one, but took forever. GTA 4, Avatar, Killzone 3, there's where Hulu finally showed up. Play Memories, haven't seen that in a while. Bionic Commando. I did not mind this game at all. I feel like looking back, people were like, this is not the Bionic Commando game we wanted. Or maybe that was the full-blown retail one. There's Plants vs. Zombies finally. Sunrise Blossom theme. Mortal Kombat. Free Realms. Yep. Yeah, it was there. Infamous 2. Dead Nation. Infamous. Actually, we're getting close to the PSN hack. So it would have been, that was my redemption right there. Infamous and Little Big Planet PSP. Boy, oh boy, the Welcome Back program. Actually, that would be the gap, right? So, yeah, my last thing would have been right there. Free Realms, and then June 2nd, June 4th, yep. This is when the floodgates were open. I'm downloading the Pixel Wonderland dynamic theme for some godforsaken reason. Here's a PlayStation Plus dynamic theme. Now, let me tell you, see, this is where, like, I don't remember, but, like, I know I didn't have a Plus membership for most of the PS3 cycle, admittedly. I might have had it, like, one time, obviously, if that's there. I don't know if that was free. But I don't think I actually got Plus until you had to for PS4. I really did not have Plus on PS3. So I don't have those initial, because we're already past like 2010. That's when Plus came out on PlayStation 3. So you would have been given, like, I think month 1 was Siphon Filter PS1. So I've got no Plus licenses on this if that wasn't immediately obvious to you. I might have gotten a month or two, but if I recall correctly, like, I didn't get it till PlayStation 4. Got Lightning, Uncharted 3, some sort of content for it. Let's see what it is. Multiplayer. Oh, the beta. All right, I had that beta too. If I have it, it's probably because it was super open and they let anybody join. Limbo, Arrival, Mass Effect 2. Was that like the extra thing they had to put out after people were upset with the ending? I forget what it was called. Yuna Avatar. Oh my god. And I don't want to, like, exaggerate here, but I would legitimately die for this woman. I'd die for her. R3, multiplayer beta. Yep, NFL Sunday Ticket. I would download that only so I had it on the XMB, so it made it seem like it was this, full-blown, I can pick anything sort of experience, even though I'm not obviously watching those things. Portal 2, Crisis, Uncharted 3, something. Online, the online pass. Oh, folks. Online passes. Yep. Sony Computer Entertainment was doing online passes at the time. They eventually got rid of them, but they had them. Cinema Now, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? I love that show. Love it. So I always like the games. Not even gonna front. All for One, the Starhawk public beta. Starhawk, couldn't get into it. It just, for me, it was all Warhawk. But you know what I could get into? Super Stardust Delta. That's right, baby. Now we're at PlayStation Vita. So you're going to see all the PSP content coming in. But not before these Jack and Daxter avatars, which these were very much, I think, like 50 cents each or something. So it was like, yeah, that was the easiest 50-something cents I ever spent in my life. For each of these, I don't know, this would have been like at least like a few burritos at Taco Bell. Maybe like 1 or 2 burritos. We're talking 2012, so you probably could have got so much goddamn food at the time. PVZ, there's Live Tweet for Vita, there's Flickr for PlayStation Vita. I used to use Flickr, Facebook, Blast Pack, Best PSN. Oh yeah, you had to like download this to vote, I think, because that's what they were doing with that. MotorStorm RC, not the MotorStorm game I wanted for PS Vita, but I still played it and platinumed it. The treasure pack for Golden Abyss, the Elite application for Call of Duty. I don't even know why I downloaded that, because I was well past playing Call of Duty at this point in time. This is probably all the, again, network stuff you could download. Another Jack avatar. Rayman Origins PS Vita, Resistance Burning Skies, shame, not a good game. Play Memories Studio, Play Memories Trial, download request number 4, We Love Pac-Man. MotorStorm RC demo, and then there's the RC full game. A lot of RC stuff. Mass Effect 3 online pass. Hey, Skype, I'm filming this on the day that it closed. RIP Skype. It is officially, it's dead. Paint Park app for Vita. It was cool that like PS Vita was also getting these sort of, I don't know, similar to smartphone apps, right? Paint Park on Vita. Free little application. You can just draw on it. YouTube, LBP stuff, NHL Game Center. You know your boy's not messing with hockey, but your boy is messing with sound shapes for that cross-save functionality, that auto pop for the trophies, where it is a ridiculous amount of silvers for all the content packs that I'm sure will eventually show up. PS All-Stars Battle Royale Beta, also a big deal at the time, where we finally had our PlayStation mascot brawler, not quite the game that I think everybody wanted necessarily, and I don't say that as a bad thing, because I know there's a very deep, dedicated community that still wants more PS All-Stars. I'm also just not a huge fighting game person, too, so who am I to say? Thieves in Time, early access demo, okay. I don't remember that game having a demo, but I guess it did. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater HD, Treasure Park, LBP Vita Online Pass, boo, but yay to Vita, but also boo that it's down, but also back up with Beacon. More PS All-Stars. Is that the Vita version? Or is that the Pass? No, it's the Vita version. Yeah, oh, the beta, excuse me. Because you could buy retail and get the digital PS Vita version for free. Dekuro, that's a fun puzzle game on Vita. More PS All-Stars, another beta. Absolute Supercars. Hey, this is actually around the time that I was trying to take off with this YouTube career of mine. So I was reviewing a lot of games back then, and I did review Absolute Supercars. Colors, another small application. That's the PS Vita version. Yep. Game came out at the time. That's the Online Pass. This is Online Pass. I guess it was separate for PS3 and Vita. I don't remember. Full Frontal Assault. Fun game. Fight for Fortune, which was a ridiculous Uncharted card game. Now that I'm so into card games with like Yu-Gi-Oh, I kind of want to download that again and like maybe enjoy it a lot more than I did at the time. It's like back then it's like your eyes glow with like, you know, if you're just like such a big fan, you're like, oh my God, more Uncharted. I'll play no matter what it is. And I'm playing it and I'm like, oh, this is kind of weird. And you put it down right away. I should go back to it. Big Sky Infinity. I think this game still has problems with the trophies. And it really bothered me that I couldn't fully 100% it, and I think it's still broken to this day. I could be wrong, though. LBP Cross Controller DLC. This is where it's like, it's just so cool that you can do crazy stuff like this, where you can use the Vita with LBP2, and there's a whole separate section of levels and trophies, and it's crazy stuff. Hotel Mogul. Dead Underground's really fun. Yeah, so these were games that I bought fully, like, wanting to like review, and I've got review like super early. This is like 13 years old now, reviews on my channel, and it's a young Ryan with bad editing, and my voice is terrible where I'm slurring my speech like crazy, which I still tend to do nowadays as well. PlayStation Mobile Development Assistant. Earth Defense Force, tried to platinum, and I quit that game very quick because there's no stacking of the trophies for difficulty, so you really do have to play it like 18 something different times, which is kind of insane. But I don't mind the Earth Defense Force games, but they're so one-tracked. They're just so bland, kind of. Jetpack Joyride. Got all these smartphone games making their way to Vita. Escape Vector. The Cave was also early on. I remember reviewing Let's Fish Hooked On. Didn't like that game. Sly Cooper. PS Home Arcade. That was also a very weird separate download with just PlayStation Home games. I always find it ironic, too, because it's like PlayStation Home. The games they're all bad. Let's just be honest with ourselves. All the baked-in PlayStation Home games are not good. PS All-Stars, the PS Vita extra content. That's when like Cat came to the game. Ascension Online Pass. Oof. Non-Attack is fun for PS Vita. And here's where I finally buy Super Rub-a-Dub all these years later. So I guess whatever access I had early on, because I did have access from somebody from game sharing back then. Now I finally bought it. Guacamelee is so good. Love that game. Soul Sacrifice, fantastic. Dragon Fantasy Book 1, fantastic. I never got Book 2. Draw Slasher, Thomas Was Alone. Also remember a lot of talk with this game too. It's one of those early indie games that just got a lot of attention for doing something different. You know, having this pretty heavy narrative for what are basically a bunch of blocks and icons, and it has super basic platforming segments, but it still hooked you in a way that most games were not doing at the time. God Mode, Tiger Woods PGA Tour. I'm still loving that stuff, apparently, but I wasn't playing Tiger Woods that much. Jacob Jones, they only did one of those. They made it seem like this was going to be some sort of anthology of games, and there's only one of them. Hey, look at that, though. The Last of Us demo, where history was made. And the Online Pass. Yup TV. Oh, wait, I also skipped past Men's Room Mayhem. Goofy game. It's basically like Diner Dash, but you have to corral men into bathroom stalls because they have to pee-pee or poo-poo. So you have to choose, you get them out of there and delegate like a flight attendant or something, but it's for, you know, haphazard piss and poo everywhere. Stealth Inc., Cloudberry Kingdom. Oh, wait. So Cloudberry and Ibanob, these games also are very special to me as well because they are the first games where I was established enough as a channel to get a code from the publisher. And I felt very special about that. It was like, wow, it's a validation thing, you know, and this was 2013. It's a long time ago, and it felt like, oh my God, I'm sort of building something here. And that was a really exciting feeling at the time. So Ibn Ab is always, it's that game to me in my head. It was Ibn Ab in particular, where that was the first one. I think Cloudberry Kingdom was the second. I still think was the third too, possibly. Magic 2014. Hey, this is where I was trying Magic. So I know I'm like on my Yu-Gi-Oh bullshit nowadays, as a lot of you have been keeping up with. But I'll always say, like, I've tried Magic. I've played it before, and I paid for it back then too. And I've done Commander games. So like 2014, yeah, like me and my buddy, we got decks, gave it a shot, had fun, and I've done Commander nights with people where people, like, some folks will loan me a deck and it's super nice, and I always take to the game pretty quick, but it's just, for me, it always comes back to Yu-Gi-Oh! So that's my relationship with Magic. Now here's where the sound packs come in for sound shapes. The acoustic, dubstep, the 8-bit. It's just so much sound shape stuff. These are all separate packs with silvers. And here's where we finally got Minecraft PlayStation 3. I was also very jealous of the 360 version, because it's like, obviously I prefer it on PlayStation. I want the trophies, and man, it was so big to finally have Minecraft come to PlayStation 3. I spent a lot of time on Minecraft back then. I have not played the game and couldn't even tell you how long, but having the PS3 version finally was dope. Now here's all of our sound shape stuff. Here's more LBP Vita content. Here's the Ballad of Gay Tony. You know what I'm saying. Such good content there. BioShock Infinite. Love that game. Also love the Clash in the Clouds. I feel like this game gets so much flack for like the gameplay not being as good as BioShock 1 and 2, but I feel like Clash in the Clouds is a perfect example where it's a completely gameplay heavy environment, and it works with the skylines and jumping off and, you know, bashing people up and stuff. It's fun. Burial at Sea was also super good. Last of Us Left Behind, The Feels, Final Fantasy X-2 HD Remaster. I don't know why that's there, because I definitely have the game on disc, so I don't know if that is the full game or not. I don't remember paying for it on PSN. I have no clue what that is. R3 Online Pass, Episode 2 for Burial at Sea, PVZ Full Game Unlock. I think I just went back to that for like the PS3 version, because at that point I played the PS Vita one a lot. Here's more PS1 games that I finally decided to buy in 2014. Spyro, Crash, yeah, your PS1 staples. Tokyo Jungle, amazing. PlayStation Now Private Beta, there it is, folks. Gaikai acquisition, PlayStation Now, what is currently just PlayStation Plus streaming, PS Plus Premium streaming. But 2014, Sony does a great job at showing up super early with technology that's not ready. And it's crazy that in 2014, you very much had streaming PS3 games to PS3 consoles, PS Vitas, PS4s, even some select Sony Bravia and Samsung televisions. And there was a very brief period where once PS4 games went live on PlayStation Now, you could also stream those to PlayStation 3 if you didn't upgrade just yet. Sly 3 Honor Among Thieves PS Vita, you had to download that from the collection, so only game 1 and 2 were on the cart. Crystal Theme PS Vita edition, I was also big time on that. There's PS Now's more formal launch. And look at this absolute sin that Sony themselves committed on the data for PlayStation Now, on the metadata for it. The S is lowercase. Holy shit. Sound the alarm bells. Somebody nearly 11 years ago made a big time oof. It sticks out to me like a sore thumb, people. There's the 20th anniversary theme. Been around for a long time. PlayStation is a powerhouse. We got Resogun, best PlayStation 3 or PS4 launch game with PS Plus, and also eventually came to PS Vita and PS3. What's funny is that Housemarque at the time too went out of their way to say like these games couldn't be on PS3 because we have just so many crazy particle effects going on, which, you know, is true for like the degree of how they were trying to do it on PS4. But it's like, yeah, scale that back. You can get them on PS3 and Vita, no problem. Hohokam, that was also another early PS4 game. Now we're getting into some of the PS4 stuff that'll still show up, because this was also a period in PlayStation history where cross-buy was a thing. And this is what I say about Sony. they do so many initiatives, and they experiment with technology early on, whether it's the iToy or PlayStation Move or streaming or remote play. They do all these initiatives and things so soon, but they do them so early to where the technology either isn't ready, consumers aren't ready to adopt it, or it's an initiative that was very cool at the time, but maybe we take for granted nowadays. But point being, it was very commonplace where if a developer shipped a game on PS3, Vita, PS4, generally speaking, you got the license for all those platforms. And that's why you now see like a lot of these games being titled for PS3, Vita, and PS4. Last of Us Territories map pack. Yeah, that's funny too that Magic Orbs got content like, I think way later, or that might have been me just showing up later. Level pack, I think those were trophies that I had to go back to that I may or may not have even completed. Journey, I got to Journey actually pretty late. Excuse me. Hateful Boyfriend. Excuse me. Ridiculous visual novel where you date pigeons. Not even joking. They're just straight up pigeons. Journey, Goat Simulator, LBP. Oh my god, I'm so disgusting. I'm sorry. I gotta leave that in though because this is already getting too long. DC Comics, LBP content. So, okay, you're looking at this, you're thinking, Ryan, how dare you? Here's the thing. I did get it initially. You can check my ID. The trophies are not on there. At first, I was like, oh, this is so silly. A game where you tap a mayonnaise jar and you get a platinum. But it just, a part of me, like, it didn't sit right with me. So I never launched it. I did buy it because it was like, I think probably $1, if I remember correctly, because the game went viral. It was pretty much the early sort of shit-stained game on PSN that like now turned into how awful it is nowadays. I don't have the platinum. But I bought it initially. At first, I kind of joined in with the whole like, oh yeah, didn't do it. Here's some PS2 classics. To be honest, I did not buy like PS2 classics because they came out way before this. I just didn't really buy a ton of them because I at that point, like 2017 for sure, this was around the time where I'm rebuilding my own library physically. So I don't know like what you think of this collection of digital games just yet or not. Maybe wondering why I don't have this, why I don't have that. It's a mix of like game sharing early on. It was a mix of I had the games physically, or I started prioritizing physical, or I had betas from other people, or I did still have separate IDs that I was using. So I have no idea what you think of what you've seen so far, but I know with PS2 classics, they were not really a high priority for me. That's when they were calling it HBO Go. I did buy Persona 3 and wanted to play it right then and there, and so that was the first time I played the PS2 version, actually, was around 2017. Grim Fandango on PS Vita. Tori, yeah, so these also came out, like, basically around the same time as Aquatopia, because these are the same thing. They're, like, camera games these are very much bordering on the whole technical demonstration thing, which they pretty much were, and then they sold them to you. That's another, like, common theme for PlayStation, is that there are so many examples of them very much doing technical demonstrations that were not meant to be sold to consumers, and they eventually turn into full-scale games. Whether it's, Sony themselves or on a developer by developer basis, excuse me. So, you think of the Rubber Ducky thing going to Super Rub-a-Dub. You think of the Heavy Rain demo or technical demo, I forget what they called it back. Not Kara, but Kara obviously turned into Detroit, but the interview or whatever, that turned into a full game. PlayStation VR Worlds were all tech demos that they packaged into a full game. So Sony does do this quite a lot, where they were birthed as tech demos, they then turn into full experiences that they sell to you. Here's where I finally bought Pain, because I know I had it way earlier, so somebody gave it to me back then. Gex 3, The Last of Us, more stuff like that. Folks, look at this. So we got a big jump going on here. 2019, here is 30 Platinums Part 1, history being made. Downloaded a bunch of easier games that I could get the Platinum for. Taco Master, Twin Robots, these were some of the cheaper games for sure, where I addressed it in Part 2 saying we're not going to do any games that just hand out Platinum. So some of these I very much did lean on. Twin Robots is like an hour-long Platinum or something. So there's that. The Walking Dead, though, I did that with 3 different consoles at the same time. Flow PS3 I finally decided to download for some reason, or pay for it finally. So that's how long it took for me to actually get the license on my account. Battlefield 1943, that was also super late. I think I bought that for PS3 Online. But this game too, I mean, it came out, I think 2010. Had it from somebody else, because I do remember playing a lot of it. Skyforce, sorry, I'm just acting like you're just sitting across the room from me and I'm being gross. Skyforce, Klonoa, now we're getting to a point where I'm not using PlayStation 3 all the time, but I'm like buying things for videos. Klonoa I bought for a video. All the stuff I think I was buying to like showcase or demonstrate on video for certain examples. I don't know what they would have been for at the time. Maybe to show people, hey, like you can buy Tomba for $6, but it's actually $100 physically or something. Here are the final PS Vita games that ever came out on the PlayStation Vita store. So that was a huge debacle, if you remember, when Sony weren't telling developers that submissions were going to get cut off. So these were the final games that made it through, which is Ultra Mission, Witchcrafty, Killer Dolls United, and Severed, and also Russian Subway Dogs, which is not on here. I think that was only, well, it would have been showing up just on the strictly the Vita store. Here's Severed, so that is also 30 platinums. I think that was part, yeah, that's part 2 at that point. Yeah, Ponzu Hunter, so this is 30 platinums part 2. Goosebumps, Tesla Grad. We're getting close to the top here. Motor Storm stuff. I don't know why I was downloading those at that time. Pixel Junk Shooter, Helldivers. Yeah, I didn't have the game when it came out, but it's like finally try it for, I think it was PS Vita Online 2022. Fez, I don't even know why I'm buying these at this point, but I've got them. Spelunky, Fez, SteamWorld Dig, Velocity. These must have been for something. Ali, or they might also be Plus licenses. They might be Pix, Sports Friends. Yeah, that's a Plus license for sure. I remember that one being a PS4 Plus game, and I believe you were able to still get pull the PS3 one. Killzone, Frogger, Online Pass, that was for PS3 Online 2023. So I needed to get all this Mass Effect 3 content to boot up. And then here's 30 Platinums Part 3, so now we're getting real recent with Reverie. And then, yep, here's some of my final things that I've bought that, hey, Ryan, why'd you buy those so recently? Well, they may or may not be for things that you have not seen just yet. But, oh my God, I don't know why I thought, I'm sitting here in the back of my head thinking like, oh yeah, I'll knock this out in like maybe 30 minutes. Nope. I knew to say it right away, like you might want to listen to this like a podcast, but that is my PSN digital library that shows up on PlayStation 3. Things are probably delisted. Again, I've had access to other content by other means, so this is certainly not everything that I've engaged with. Of course, there's things that would show up on the PS4 and 5 Up storefronts and that download history, and maybe we'll do that someday if you all enjoyed this and liked watching me rant, as always, about things like that. I know for collection updates, we still have to do PSP Vita, PS1. I think that's it, actually. Yeah, we did PS3, 4, and 5, right? So I think I only have to do PS1, 2, and then PSP and Vita. So we'll eventually do it. You'll get your other very long, verbose conversations where I just talk your goddamn ears off. But thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in my next video. You take it easy.